I'd now like to introduce Ghizala Avan, who is from the Amina Muslim Women's Resource Centre, leading the excellent campaign You Can Change This, which is a campaign to end violence against women, specifically targeting Muslim and Black and minority ethnic communities. She's also been involved in training at an international level, so different faith communities can come together and tackle inequalities.
So I want to start by sharing two stories with you. This one will be familiar to you. A 27-year-old woman remarks that it is not Islamic to believe in amulets or pray at shrines. A man, one man, who sells these amulets accuses her of burning the Quran. What follows is the brutal murder of Farkhanda, and Farkhanda ironically means blessed. She is stoned to death by men. Her body is set on fire and then thrown into the river. The police do nothing, and people watch on. A few days ago, I watched a woman follow a man to the train station. She walks up to him. They have a conversation. She appears to be asking him for something, and he continues to glare at her while smoking a cigarette. Eventually, he throws some money on the ground, and she picks it up. She looks embarrassed, and without making eye contact with the bystanders, she leaves. She is Muslim. I know this because she is wearing a headscarf. In fact, both women are Muslim. And like I said, you'll recognize the first story. It's been in the news. It's a recent tragedy. The second woman, a woman from Glasgow, and I happened to be one of the people that was standing at Pollokshields West train station when this happened. And I have to confess that some of the thoughts that went through my head, amongst many, were, what are all these other people who are standing at the train station going to think? Another oppressed Muslim women. And look at how badly these Muslim men just treat Muslim women. One of the things that I found myself doing a lot recently is defending Islam. Because frankly, if you look at what's going on in the media and the world around us, it seems like Muslims can't really do anything right. They're good at treating women badly. They also behead people. They're suicide bombers. And generally, they're like a difficult bunch of people to deal with and really difficult to integrate into British society, wanting their own separate schools, wanting their halal food, and the list goes on and on. So, with Muslims being in the limelight for all the above reasons, what does this do to Muslim women? Well, from our experience as an organisation, it makes these women even more reluctant to come forward when they're in abusive relationships, for the fear of their abuse being linked to their Islam or to their men. It's a common reaction for communities. And this is another reaction when people feel that their religion is being attacked or their culture is being attacked, that they hold on to it even more. And a fine example of that is when you had Scottish people who went over to Canada and they set up their own Caledonian societies and held on to their culture even more, and they had their haggis and wore kilts, etc. And they became even more Scottish than the people that were actually in Scotland. So communities, in a sense, lose their sense of belongingness, and they don't connect with the wider community, and there's a loss of citizenship that happens. There was a really interesting article on the BBC website about the pull and push factors for women joining the militant extremist Islamic State. And as part of that analysis, the author notes that some of the push factors for women who join the Islamic State are the perceived failure of Western states to give young Muslims a sense of belonging, purpose, and value as Muslims and citizens. I've been working at Amina for over a year and a quarter to be exact, and I've noticed a number of things. I've come across colleagues from other organisations who view Islam and other faiths as nothing but man-made ideologies which have been created to establish hierarchy and patriarchy. And it's okay to think that, and I don't personally have a problem with that at all. But the reality for us, however, as an organisation, is that faith does matter, and it matters to a lot of women we work with. Their faith is what gives them courage and strength. Their faith gives them the courage and strength to leave abusive relationships. Their faith gives them the right to educate themselves and their daughters, and to work outside of the home and keep those earnings. It gives them the right to choose to wear a headscarf or not to wear one, and it gives them the right to choose who they marry. And at a lower level, it also gives them the right to say, no, I'm not taking your surname. But what is not okay is when white, middle-class, able-bodied feminism is seen to be the dominant and more superior feminism. And it reminds me of almost like this private club, that you only get membership to this private club if you follow this particular model of feminism. And intersectional feminism doesn't get membership to this club. So from our experience, and my personal experience, intersectional feminism has empowered Muslim women to explore their faith and search for gender equality within Islam. More importantly, it's enabled Muslim women to come together and redefine women's rights from a feminist perspective, and to recognize how men in powerful positions have manipulated Islam and other religions to their social, economic, and political advantage. One of the other things that I noticed, having worked at Amina, is that we as an organisation almost have like a double or triple whammy. So what we found, or I found, is that a lot of the white feminist organisations don't see us as being feminist enough. Some of the BME organisations, Black Minority Ethnic organisations, have an issue about our organisation because we work predominantly with Muslim women. And often men in mosques and elsewhere will refer to us as home wreckers, marriage breakers, and possibly a few other things too that I won't mention here. So the reality for us and others too is that men still hold the power. And as an organisation, we need to work with men. But we need to get the right men who are committed to what we do to work alongside us. We've had 2 Islamic scholars who've been working with us, and when we've had events, they've come along to these events and they've made women and men aware of the rights of women. And for example, violence against women goes against the teachings of Islam. And from the point of view of the women that we work with, this has been a very empowering process where women can actually stand up and men also recognize that this is not acceptable, this is not okay, this is not the way to be. Just out of curiosity, are there any women here today who have named their children after themselves as opposed to their male partner? 1, 2, okay. But generally, it's not normal, as we know. So what is the enemy then? Patriarchy is the enemy, whether in secular or non-secular societies. It is the need for men to establish who the father is, and this predates Islam. This has led to all sorts of practices, such as child taking the father's name, restricting women's sexuality by practices such as female genital mutilation, by establishing women as the upholders of the family honour, forced marriages. So when Farkhanda is killed horrifically in Afghanistan, and when that woman at the train station is humiliated by her husband or partner, it's not a Muslim issue. And I find myself defending Islam yet again. But just like the way women lobby to carry Farkhanda to the mosque and then to the graveyard, and this is something that is just not done in Islam and never has been, because it's always the men that do that. And just like the way the men formed a protective circle around the women carrying the coffin, we as women need to work together. We need to unite with other women, faith or no faith, is really not, it really doesn't matter about that. Right now, from our experiences and from what's going on globally, it feels that Muslims as a community are being ostracized. Many years ago, it was Jewish people, and in the future, it might be another group. We need to support each other as women first and recognize that if one group is failing or falling behind, then we all have to rally around and support each other. And finally, I'd just like to add that we at Amina are delighted to be speaking at this Engender event today, as for us it symbolises that there will be more opportunities to work together in the future. Thank you for listening.